Hi, it's Jo and Steve from Fresh Agenda. And Steve, this week we're giving a bit of an overview of our latest Global Dairy Directions quarterly report, with the birds singing and industrial noises happening and no doubt a few trains coming past. But we'll soldier on, won't we?
We will. We'll cut through it. We're trying to do this outlook in 5 picks, keeping it short as possible, and that's not easy for me. Look, the first one, we're trying to tell the story in 5 picks. The first one is just the fact that the global market balance has swung around. So we know we're in a period of slow milk growth year on year. The big producers are barely ahead of comparatives. And we're also seeing that in other regions as well. So slowing in South America, certainly slow in Australia. So that's all adding up to a very small milk growth. But at the same time, we've still got a surging demand side of the market.
Yeah, we've certainly seen some very strong trade numbers in December and January, and
they will continue.
They'll continue on. And we'll look at some of the key drivers as we scroll through this next 4 pictures.
Yep. Okay, the EU milk flush. Big question on everyone's lips is what's the how strong will European milk growth be through the spring? They've had a slow start in winter. France and Germany, according to weekly data, still just below if you add them up. But there's some other producers doing a lot better.
So we've got first half growth in European Union at 0.5%, which is behind the year-on-year growth we had in 2018, the actual growth, which was affected, of course, by that very cold weather, the beast from the east.
Yep.
So it is still a bit of a struggle in terms of overall growth for European Union.
Yeah, we've got a reduction in cow numbers. Netherlands, we know all about that, but it's also happened in Germany according to official numbers. But there's a number of countries, large countries, down on numbers.
Sure.
The vegetation growth maps look good in spring. They look good now going forward. But then the questions about how milk is used, we go through a large analysis of that, looking at relative returns to product streams and the different growth rates for producers who've got different mixes.
And as always, cheese will be the priority with available milk for that large domestic market. So the issue is going to be for skim production.
Yeah. Across the water, across the pond to the US, so the US is slow growth at the moment because of poor farm economics in most of the traditional regions. Everywhere but the southwest, I guess, is looking pretty grim. Cow numbers have pulled right back. Trajectory for margins is better. It's a case of how long it takes those better margins to be in play before you see the cow numbers start to turn around. We think there's a while before that happens, and so we'll see slow growth through this year. It's conditional on the cheese market staying firm. It's become very firm.
Yes.
And staying firm, and that needs the demand to stay there.
Yeah.
Cheddar's been tighter. There's been tight supplies of cheddar, and that's about milk used product mix and even cheese product mix. So it's a complicated story in the US right now.
Yeah. And obviously that domestic demand is very important given the trade challenges.
And the cheese market globally has been sluggish. In real terms, it's growing at about 1%.
So the other side of the equation, I guess, is import demand. And obviously China continues to be critical to this story. And this is a really good chart that has been included in this quarterly, just looking at the cost of local and imported whole milk powder, and it kind of tells a story of why we've seen the Chinese so active in the market in the last few weeks, months rather.
Yeah, there's a yawning chasm between local costs, which went up because the cost of milk rose strongly. Milk prices rose strongly in China late last year, if you believe the data. So that's probably going to see production stabilise, and might see those milk costs come down. As the chart says, if we go later, that gap's going to narrow back. But while we're on the demand side, we've included a new trick in our kit bag, which is a piece of analysis that allows us to look at the landed cost in destination markets. So we take shipped prices, spot prices, and convert them to destination currencies. It lets us look at a number of different things. So that base level of demand, that no matter what, they will fall back to prices rise. That's clear in this instance. But also, the risks around where they might stop buying. So here we're comparing ship prices and then where futures are at the moment for that profile for whole milk. This is skim milk. This is skim milk to Indonesia. Critical market. They bought big volumes as part of this surge, and we're interested. So we've looked at a whole lot of countries that are big markets for milk powders in the developing world. Not only Southeast Asia, MENA, China.
Yeah, so this is really an insight into affordability because it's converted to currency, so it takes account of currency movements as well as what's happening with price. And so what we've got here is that futures are looking a bit challenging for that base demand for Indonesia.
Yeah, and that's the case in a number of these. So looking in further into 2019, what's going to happen with the price signals out there now, what might happen to demand if they stay there. So we may see that weaken the market a little as we go later in the year.
Yeah.
So that surge of demand just won't keep going.
That's right.
There is not only a full supply chain issue, there is also a resistance in price.
Absolutely.
To price. So. Okay, that brings us to Chart of the Week. And what have you picked this week, Joanne?
Well, this week, Steve, we're having a look at EU butter stocks, and just circling back to the discussion about product mix. We've had a fairly hefty revision from the EDA on butter stocks, and they're looking a lot heavier than they had previously been thought to be.
So we have a theory about that in our camp, that the revisions look like they're stocks held by traders, by intermediaries. The volumes involved line up with the rumours that kicked around from third quarter last year about how much was being held, and that now appears to be in the stock numbers. It is interesting. There was a little response from futures markets yesterday when this got released on Monday.
No, that's right.
But it's caused us to recalibrate, if that's where stocks are, effective stocks in the supply chain. So
those stocks to use ratios have to be redone. And we did. Thanks, guys.
And we did. So I guess it makes the European market pretty well supplied.
Yes.
And is a bearish piece of news.
Yeah, and I guess, given that wholesale markets for butter have been a little soft in the EU, and in fact New Zealand GDT results have been ahead, which is unusual. I guess this is a bit more to that story, isn't it?
So butter's pretty confused right now if you look in different regions. So all in all, wrapping everything up, our outlook is complex.
Yes.
It's a bit gritty.
Yeah.
There's a sweeping statement you could make. Say, well, the market's tightening, right? All that milk has slowed down and the demand's still pretty good, so we should be in for a good year. It's not that simple. And
we haven't even touched on some of the macroeconomic issues around Brexit and trade disputes and all that sort of stuff, which is just another layer of uncertainty and potential volatility as we move forward. So who would forecast? It's a mug's game.
But it's a lot of fun, right? Okay, well, that's it for us. Thanks for watching. We'll be back next week.